Hello, folks. So, in this video, let's chat about courage, right? So, when you talk about courage, the thing is, in today's world, a lot of people, I feel a lot of people lack courage. A lot of children lack courage. I think the most important thing in the world that should be taught to people is courage so that they are able to handle situations and people and anything, with courage, mentally and physically, and they should be taught courage. They should be practicing courage. Everyone should be practicing and courage and should be taught courage. And you know people should be taught to fight back with courage, mentally and physically. Fight back mentally and physically. Okay, so mentally part is very important, and physically you teach them how to fight, right? Whatever, kickboxing, karate, taekwondo, whatever, jiu-jitsu, something. There are many of them, kung fu and all that. So I mean, it's ideal that people are are taught, and people are learning and are taught courage. People should be learning courage. People must be learning courage, especially young children, not just old people or adults. Children, like small kids, starting from small kids to children, teens, adolescents, adults, old people, everyone should be taught courage, must be taught courage, and should be learning courage almost all the time, right? Their fear levels should just keep decreasing. Fear levels for anything should keep decreasing, and their courage levels should just keep increasing. And even if they have fear, they should be able to act with courage, and especially mentally and also physically. I tell this because in today's world, a lot of times you see parents using fear. For example, Indian parents, I've noticed Indian parents say, for example, some say a crow will come and eat your food, so you eat it. So they use fear or jealousy, one of these usually. They'll say someone else will eat it, so you eat it. So the child gets jealous, or it's trying to be competitive, or they'll say something like some bad guy will come and threaten the child. Say bogeyman will come and kidnap you, or will threaten you, or will scare you because you didn't eat, so eat now. So parents use fear, so there's a, I don't know, people use even the term mongrel, I don't know, anyways. So fear, parents use fear to manipulate their children, right? So that's like a very very bad thing. Ideally parents should not use fear at all. They should teach courage. They should teach children to be courageous. But then no, that's not what happens. Parents use fear. Say fear of the parent itself. Say my dad will scold me, my dad will hit me, abusive parents and all. So my mom will scold me, my mom will abuse me, emotionally abuse me, emotional blackmail. A lot of kids, will feel sadness, will feel hurt when their primary caregivers, say parents, grandparents, guardians, anyone, says something hurtful, right? Or abuses them verbally, or abuses them physically. They get hurt, they fear it that it will happen again, right? So when they have that fear, it's actually a bad thing. I believe parents, primary caregivers, anyone should actually not use fear to actually, manipulate their children, control their children, discipline their children, make them do things in a way that they want, right? Ideally, they should teach the child why they want the child to do something. If they want the child to actually go and study and educate themselves, well, they can't just use fear. They can't be like, I mean, to some extent, the statements might be true. If you don't study, maybe you won't get a job, but then that's not always true. It may be true in some cases, but then that's not always true. If you don't study, um, you will end up, on the streets and all that, right? Rather, if you study, you'll actually be more powerful. Good things will happen. You will be more, learned, educated, and no one can actually, fool you. You will be having a great power, the power of education, knowledge, a powerful weapon that you can actually use to defend yourself, not fight others, but defend yourself. But of course, yeah, fight crimes and whatnot, right? Because the moment parents and everyone starts using fear, that dog will bite you. Um, if you don't eat, I will not do this, I will not buy you that. If you don't eat, I'm gonna actually spank you or whatever, right? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what parents tell their kids. Sometimes in my family, I've heard parents tell stuff like, not my parents, but then I've heard some young parents tell their kids like, boogeyman will come and scare them at night when the parents want their kids to sleep. They'll be like, boogeyman will come, sleep, sleep. If you don't sleep, boogeyman will come and actually scare you and whatnot. Rather than using fear, can they actually just be smart and, for example, tell stories, talk to the kids, maybe ask kids to go out and play so that they get tired. And at some point at night, they'll feel sleepy because they are tired, right? And are not active and are not looking at screens so that they can actually sleep, or else they'll feel awake at night. Instead of using fear, basically they can use their brains to actually think about how can you use, you know, courage, or just simple knowledge of what you want, and then how you can actually convey it to the child without using fear, right? Because I think, I mean, most times you don't need courage, you don't need to talk about courage, but you can get rid of talking about fear. You can get rid of that for sure, and separately talk about courage to just increase the levels of courage, right? So if you want the child to eat, you don't have to talk about courage, but that doesn't mean you talk about fear and be like, some boogeyman will come and eat you, or some boogeyman will come and scare you or kidnap you if you don't eat. You could rather just say, if you eat, you'll be strong, you'll be able to play, you'll be healthy, and you won't have to go to the doctor or eat medicines and whatnot. You will actually be able to play around and not be on the bed resting, right? All of that. You will not be sick, you will not fall sick and whatnot. You'll be happy and whatnot, right? If you eat, and if you eat healthy food, nutritious food is great for you. Maybe talk about all of that instead of using fear to actually, manipulate the child and control the child, right? The child needs courage, not fear. And then separately, you do have to teach the child courage so that the child becomes courageous, right? It takes a lot of time, but then you will have to teach the child to be courageous. You have to tell the child to not fear things, not fear people, to not fear anything as much as possible. It's not entirely possible, of course, but then you have to keep telling the child first of all, you have to start from that. And then go learn how to teach courage, and then how to be courageous, and how to actually, inspire courageousness. I don't know if that's a term, but inspire someone to be courageous, say your children, your loved ones, right? For example, yesterday I noticed this one case, and I believe there might be so many, probably hundreds, thousands, or even millions of such cases where some cyber bully or cyber attacker, right? Uh, Basically, someone was attacking someone through just internet. That's all. One old person, late 30s apparently, was attacking an 11-year-old child, a girl child, a man. An old man was actually manipulating 11-year-old girl child to actually do things, unspeakable things, so that he can have pleasure, like take obscene videos, images, and whatnot of the child doing things. Basically, it comes under the crime section of child pornography, which is illegal. It's a heinous crime, um, and fortunately, they caught the old man. They found out about this, right? But they found out pretty late. And what was the old man doing? This old man was basically far away somewhere else. He was using the internet and communication, and that's all, to actually manipulate and control the child to do things and send images and videos. The child was just afraid. Like, why is the child afraid, and what was the child afraid of? The old man said he will actually leak pictures and images and whatnot if the child ever told anything to anyone or spoke to anyone about this or went to the police and whatnot. So the child was basically just afraid, right? Fear. It's all about fear. I mean, can you prevent such a crime? Maybe not. But then look at the extent of crime. They found 500 something or thousands, 3000 something videos and images of the child, right? That's a lot. So this has been probably going on for a lot of time. That's why there are so many videos and images. This happened through a stranger on a stranger video chat online platform called Omegle, which is now down after a lot of court executions. But then there is one more now alternative for that also. I'm not going to say ban these platforms. Of course, these platforms should have moderation so that legally everything is taken care of and no one is doing anything illegal. But then, can you prevent such a crime? Can you ensure that there is no one doing this bad stuff? No. There is always going to be someone who is going to be born, who's going to be put into certain circumstances, and who will become the victim of certain situations and probably end up in a bad situation and become a bad person or whatever, and end up liking doing bad things, right? Liking doing bad things. So when they like doing bad things, they start doing bad things, and then crime happens, right? The thing is, you can't stop the bad guys. As in, you can stop and you can catch them also. Ideally, we should prevent crime and not be like, crime happens and then you just stop the crime. Yeah, that of course we are already doing it, right? We stop the crime. We first of all find that the crime is happening, that itself is a big deal, and then stop the crime, right? Great, okay. But that's just cure for the crime or whatever, right? Not even cure, because victims of the crime are still already hurt and whatnot and damaged in some form or the other, or way or the other, say killed or whatever, right? In this case, this it's a trauma for the child. So, can you prevent such a crime? Can you prevent the extent of the crime? Yes. In this case, if the child was actually taught to be courageous, if the child was actually courageous enough to actually not be manipulated by the fear of the old man, then it probably is possible to just catch this old man, right? And it wouldn't have ended up in this situation. I don't know if you can actually write all these bad people. I don't think so. It's not possible. But then you can teach all these possible victims the courage to actually come out of these traumatic situations, to also be courageous, and be like, it's okay if you release all these videos or pictures or whatever. I'm not afraid of you. It's okay if you come and kidnap me or whatever. I'm not afraid of you. Like, it's a very big level of courage, yes, for a child to have, yes. But then I think children can be taught, and anyone can be taught courage. I mean, if we say we can't teach courage, then we're just giving up. So I don't care even if we say that we can't. I want us to try and be like, teach courage to everyone, including children, so that children, no matter what they go through, because like these kind of traumatic stuff is like crazy. Imagine the amount of fear and pain, emotional, mental pain that this child would have gone through to actually satisfy the pleasures of this old man who was using fear to manipulate her. There's also this one movie called Chitta, one Tamil movie, where a child is sexually abused physically. And imagine what that child will go through after that. The child is alive after it, but then ends up in the hospital and whatnot. But then for a long time, she has that trauma, right? We all want courage to be able to move on, also, I believe. And it requires a lot of therapy also to move on from the trauma. At the end of the movie, they show how the child is actually back to normal, how she was brave and like happy and happy-go-lucky girl, usual person, and not afraid or shivering or crying and all that, right? So, what does it take to get there? I believe, apart from therapy, a lot of teaching of courage to be able to get past that trauma. Or else imagine how that child would see every other man after that kind of sexual abuse, right? So, in that movie shows how that child fears even her uncle, who she was very close to, her mother's brother, right? Uncle. So, godfather. So, yeah, I mean, more like not mother's brother, dad's younger brother. So, so yeah, I mean, it's 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 very important that we talk about courage, and we all need a lot of courage. Any amount is not enough. I would just keep going for more and more courage, and I would say we must teach courage to everyone, especially young children, kids, so that we can fight crime and we can fight back anything and everything, terrorism, whatever it is, crime, bad things, any evil. I think we can fight back only if we have courage, and courage should be taught as part of schools, colleges, everywhere. Apart from education, courage should be taught and practiced and learned. That's the only way forward. So yeah, that's all I had for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.